My name is Odessa Halprin. I'm 33, and I was born into one of those southern families where appearances matter more than blood, and legacy is just another word for control. My sister, Juliet, always had the spotlight, graceful, obedient, bathed in privilege. I was the one they called resilient, which is just a polite way of saying expendable. While she got a private college fully paid for, I scrubbed dorm bathrooms at midnight just to keep my place in a state school. They said I had figured out because I was smart. What they really meant was they didn't plan to help. For years, I told myself it didn't matter, that I didn't need their money or their pride. But the moment they walked into my graduation like nothing had happened, all smiles and pearls, I knew this was no longer about forgiveness. It was about exposing everything they buried, starting with my name. The ballroom was too bright. I adjusted my collar. The badge around my neck read National Financial Vanguard Scholar. Someone mispronounced my last name as half-run, like it wasn't fully committed. I didn't correct them. Rows of chairs snapped into tight lines. Camera crews moved like sharks. Across the room, Juliet posed near the step and repeat banner. Her red dress sharp against the white Halprin teeth our mother made sure we both paid for. She wasn't invited. None of them were. But there they were. Elaine in ivory, clutching a glass of free champagne like it was a trophy. Lionel in a creased navy blazer that barely covered the rot. Juliet, glowing, oblivious, dangerous. "You didn't think we'd miss your big day, did you?" she asked, brushing a hair off my shoulder. Her voice was sweet poison. "We are family, after all." I smiled. "Tight. You sure you're not lost? The award for identity theft is probably down the hall." Her eyes twitched. She slipped a small envelope into my hand. "Don't say I didn't warn you." I didn't open it. Speeches. Clapping. More speeches. The dean talked about merit, about grit. We celebrate those who rise above, who build success from nothing. A spotlight snapped onto my face. I walked to the stage. I heard my name. Not Juliet's. Not Elaine's. Not Lionel's. Mine. Odessa Halprin, the announcer read. Graduated with highest distinction, independent funding, recognized for financial integrity and community reform work. Each word twisted the knife deeper into their smiles. But something was wrong. As the slideshow flipped behind me, I saw a different version of my resume projected for the crowd. Stripped. My fellowship from the Ashcroft Initiative gone. My summer project in community budgeting missing. Instead, vague titles, padding, incomplete. I froze mid-step. Cut to black. Applause. No one else noticed. Outside, behind the venue, I tore the envelope open. Inside, a folded printout. A PDF transfer form, signed in my name. Request for scholarship funds to be redirected to alternate recipient, Juliet Halprin. Signature matched. Address, our childhood home. Date, July 14th, 2012. I was in a homeless shelter that week. Footsteps behind me. I snapped the paper shut. "I wouldn't go digging if I were you," Juliet whispered. I didn't turn. She dropped a final line before walking back into the light. "You really want to find out how deep this goes, little sister?" I didn't say anything, but something inside me turned. I didn't come back for the applause. I came to bury them with the truth. The parking lot outside the ballroom stank of stale beer and rotting magnolias. I sat behind the wheel of a rented Toyota, engine cold, envelope open in my lap. The paper inside crackled like a threat. I reread the signature at the bottom. Odessa Halprin. The slant was perfect. The loops matched. It was mine. Only it wasn't. 10 years ago, someone forged my name to redirect a $42,000 scholarship. The same year, I was working night shifts in a Waffle House off I-16, praying my bank account wouldn't overdraft again. They'd stolen my education. Then they had the audacity to show up at my graduation. The devil doesn't come with horns. He shows up with a glass of champagne and a last name that matches yours. Cut scene. I pulled into the Alumni Center. Sleek lobby. Polished concrete. A woman at the front desk smiled like this was a bank. It was, "I'm updating my legacy file," I lied, showing my Vanguard Scholar badge. "Just need access to the archival portal. My info's been flagged as incomplete." She nodded. "Sure thing, Miss Halprin. Right this way." Sometimes wearing the right name is all it takes. Sometimes it's the weapon they use to bury you. The screen loaded slowly. I navigated to my student record. Scholarship tab. One line stood out, bolded red. Fund dispersed to alternate recipient. Authorized transfer, 2012. Under supporting documentation, there it was again. Same forged form. Same fake signature. Same date. But something new appeared beneath it. A second file. Scanned from hard copy. Recommendation letter. Professor Wilma Thatch. My chest locked. Wilma had mentored me in sophomore year. She was tough, sharp, smoked like a chimney. She died from pancreatic cancer the summer before this letter was dated. Dead professors don't write glowing reviews, unless someone writes them for her. Cut. I'm in the basement records room. A maze of beige folders and flickering fluorescents. The air smells like bleach and rotting insulation. I find Wilma's tenure file. Birth date. Death certificate. Deceased, May 17th, 2012. The letter? Dated July 2nd, 2012. Not a typo. A fabrication. A new twist of anger bloomed in my throat. They forged a dead woman's signature to steal from me. I said aloud to no one. There's a special place in hell for people who smile at you while gutting your future. Back in the car. Sunset bleeding into the windshield. My phone buzzed once, screen lighting up. Miles Draper. Unknown number. Local code. Journalist. I answered. If this is about the Vanguard feature, I'm not talking. You don't need to, he said. I already know what they did. Pause. He exhaled into the line. I was a student here once. Investigated the same foundation. Got expelled for unauthorized access. But the files you just looked at? They match what I found back then. Same names. Same routing accounts. You followed me? I asked, voice colder than glass. No, he replied, but someone else is. I looked at the side mirror. Nothing. Still, I floored it. Flash cut. I'm in Savannah. Childhood estate. Halpern House looms like a mausoleum. I slip through the side gate. Down the stone path I memorized at 7. I know which planks creak. Which windows never lock. Inside the study, behind the vintage bar, there's a drawer Lionel never thinks to check. A false bottom. I learned that the day he caught Juliet stealing Oxy and stashed the bottle himself. Inside I find a USB drive, labeled JH Portfolio. I pocket it. Footsteps upstairs. I slide out before they notice. The garden lights buzz behind me. Someone standing on the porch. Too tall to be Juliet. Too still to be Lionel. I don't stop to check. Next day. Motel room. Lamp flickering. USB plugged in. Folders. Dozens. One is titled Foundation Transfers /OH account. I open it. Wire transfers. For years' worth. Dates overlap with my enrollment. All routed through non-profit subsidiaries. Using my student ID number. Juliet's email listed as Project Director. Lionel CC. Total amount. $123,400. My body went numb. I whispered the number like it could undo the past. They didn't just siphon my scholarship. They built her business with my name. A soft knock at the motel door. 3 taps. Then nothing. I crept to the peephole. No one there. Under the door, a note handwritten. Some signatures can ruin more than reputations. Be careful what you prove. I dropped it like it burned. You didn't just steal my future. Juliet, you built yours on my blood. The estate smelled like rotting hydrangeas and lemon furniture polish. I slipped through the back gate before dawn. The air hung heavy. That thick Georgia humidity like wet cotton. My sneakers crunched over the gravel path. Porch lights off, curtains drawn, but that didn't mean they weren't awake. Halpern House had always felt like a museum to our dysfunction. Each portrait, each chandelier, a relic of lies dressed as legacy. I crept into the study. Bar cart, leather chair, books arranged alphabetically by genre, not author. Lionel's obsession with control was compulsive. Behind the shelves, a false wall. One I'd found years ago when Juliet was caught with pills and Lionel blamed the maid. I remembered the click, the sliver of air. I pushed. Drawer slid open with a soft groan. Inside, a black binder. 3 USB drives. A safe deposit key marked OH. I pocketed everything. Footsteps above. I froze. The floor creaked once. Then silence. Cutscene. Miles met me at a gas station 20 miles out. His car reeked of cheap coffee and burnt plastic. I handed him the USB. He plugged it into a burner laptop. Christ, he muttered. Ledger after ledger. Internal routing spreadsheets, labeled with fake, non-profit names. All tracing back to one parent fund. The Halpern Family Foundation. All signed off using my student ID. These aren't just tuition reroutes, he said. This is full-scale laundering. They used your name to push funds between shells. Your clean record made it look real. I leaned back, breathing hard. And if I go public, they'll bury you. Civil court first, then defamation. They'll flip it, make you look like the thief. I smiled. Then I guess I'll have to find something that makes it impossible to flip. By nightfall, I was back at the estate. Upstairs hallway. Juliet's room. Perfume in the air. Floral. Expensive. Familiar. Drawers filled with luxury handbags. A locked filing cabinet beneath a wall of faux Ivy League diplomas. I picked the lock with a hairpin. Childhood trick. Inside, contracts. One with my name on the signature line. Guarantor, Odessa Halpern. Loan recipient, Juliet Halpern. Business startup grant. Amount, $75,000. I never signed it, but there it was. Looping ink, perfect slant. Another forged document. Juliet hadn't just stolen my education. She used my identity to bankroll her boutique. She always did think luxury was her birthright, I muttered. Some people inherit land. Others inherit silence. I was halfway down the back stairs when I heard it. Odessa! Juliet stood at the bottom, barefoot in a silk robe, glass of Pinot in hand. You're not even subtle anymore, she said. Breaking and entering? You planning to sue us too? You forged my name, I said. You stole from me. She laughed. Cold. Elegant. Correction. Dad did. I just signed where I was told. You disappeared, remember? Someone had to carry the Halpern legacy. By committing felonies? She sipped. Survival, darling. It's not a crime until someone proves it. I stepped closer. That's what I'm doing. Her expression shifted. You're making a mistake. No, you did. 10 years ago. Cut. I left the estate with the folder. Parked under an overpass. I flipped through page after page. Dates, transfers, authorizations, all with one recurring signature, Wilma Thatch. But Wilma had been dead. Each document signed by her was posthumous. I ran my fingers along the paper, heart pounding. Then I saw it, a handwritten margin note in Juliet's scrawl. Check with Lionel Rhee, cover doc Wilma. Final draft in Nolan's file. Nolan, Lionel's private accountant, the one who disappeared after the foundation downsized. I called Miles. He's on the West Coast, Miles said. Disbarred but alive. We get him, we crack this open. Later that night, I returned to the motel. Door, slightly ajar. I pulled my pepper spray, stepped inside slow. Room trashed. Mattress slashed. Laptop gone. Files missing. On the mirror, smeared in lipstick. Get out of the fire! Blood rushed to my ears. My jaw locked. I turned just as I heard tires screech outside. Window view, black SUV. No plates. Gone. My pulse roared. The next morning, I was back at the storage unit I'd rented as a fallback. One of the last places they didn't know. Inside, backup drives, photocopies, one burner phone. I opened the burner. Only one message. Wilma's death wasn't natural. He made sure of it. N. My hands shook. Lionel hadn't just forged Wilma's name. He silenced her. The ledger caught fire in her hands, but not before she saw the initials burned into the corner. LH. Execution. The elevator to Lionel's private office didn't ding. It hissed. 10th floor. Downtown Savannah. Marble floors, brass fixtures, floor-to-ceiling glass. A view built for intimidation. The receptionist was missing. Good. I stepped off and pulled Juliet's coat tighter around me. Red. Crocodile skin collar. She'd left it hanging in the closet. Her security badge was in the pocket. Not brilliant, just predictable. The glass door slid open. Silent. Inside, Lionel's desk sat like an altar. Clean. Empty. But not locked. I dropped into his leather chair and pulled the drawer. Nothing. Second drawer bingo. A red envelope. A sealed ledger marked routing. OH. And a sticky note in Lionel's handwriting. Burn after quarterly review. Of course. Control only works when no one questions the rules. I stuffed the folder into my bag, turned froze. Security camera. Red light blinking. I smiled into the lens. Let them watch. Cut. Rooftop bar. Night. Miles across from me. Swirling whiskey like he could make the numbers balance. The city lights below flickered. Heat lightning in the distance. This is bigger than tuition theft, he said. We're talking IRS violations. Wire fraud. Federal territory. Then let's play federal, I said. We freeze the accounts. We go to the source. You sure you're ready to be the whistleblower? Public hearings. Depositions. They'll drag your name through the mud. I lived in that mud. I know the temperature. He leaned in. You need a kill shot. Not just evidence, blood. Something undeniable. I slid him the flash drive. Check that. Cut scene. Halpern Marina. Midnight. Boat slips empty. Fog rolling in from the river. I waited by dock 9. Miles was late. Something scraped across the water. I turned too slow. A flashlight hit my face. Blinding. Then movement. Fast. A figure lunged from the shadows. Tall. Gloves, no voice. Just force. My shoulder slammed the deck. My bag flew open. Flash drive. Skidded toward the water. I kicked. Hard. He stumbled. Idove. Flare gun from my belt. Click. Blast of red fire lit the dock. The figure reeled back. Then ran. My chest heaved. My arm throbbed. The flash drive was still on the edge. I grabbed it. Smoke from the flare coiled into the fog. Sirens in the distance. Sometimes the only way out is through the fire. Back at the storage unit. Door bolted. Heart still hammering. Miles was already inside. Laptop open. Face pale. These files are dynamite, he said. Offshore routing accounts. Cayman. Belize. All masked under your student ID. How much? North of 1.2 million. My stomach turned. It was never about helping Juliet. It was about using me, the invisible one. The clean one. The one no one would suspect. They built an empire on your silence, Miles muttered. You gonna burn it down? Not yet. Later, the estate again. Elaine sat in the garden, pruning roses like nothing was rotting beneath the soil. Always pruning, always cutting the parts that made things real. I stood behind her. You knew, I said. She didn't look up. About Juliet. About the letters. The forged contracts. Wilma. Still silence. Finally she sighed. I told Lionel to leave you out of it. Funny. He listened. He said if you found out, you'd ruin everything. I crouched beside her. Why didn't you stop him? She clipped a rose. Because you kept coming back. You were supposed to vanish. I stared at her. You mean, my real mother? Elaine froze. Cut. Her voice was thin. She wasn't one of us. And that justified everything. Elaine stood. You want truth, Odessa? Fine. You were never supposed to be a Halperin. And yet here I am, buried in your legacy. I stepped back. She didn't follow. Back in the unit, I stared at the binder. Stamped. Founding documentation, Halperin Family Trust. Inside, page 12. In the event of proven fraud or malfeasance, all inheritance reverts to the eldest honest heir. Not Juliet. Not Lionel. Me. If I could prove it. I pulled the lighter from my bag. Flicked it once. Flame danced. Paused. Let them keep their money, I whispered. I'll take their future. You stole my future. Now I'm taking yours, asset by asset. Courtroom. Atlanta. 8:17 a.m. The air smelled like old paper and disinfectant. My shoes clicked too loud on the marble. No cameras. No press. Emergency injunction hearings didn't get fanfare. But they did leave blood on the floor. Judge Bellamy didn't smile. His robe looked wrinkled, like he hadn't slept. Ms. Halperin, your motion requests a full asset freeze on the Halperin Family Foundation and all subsidiaries. Yes, Your Honor, I said, voice steady. Based on confirmed identity fraud, tax evasion, and money laundering under my name. He raised an eyebrow. That's a heavy accusation. I slid the flash drive across the bench. Then it better be a heavy truth. Cut. Juliet's Boutique. Midtown Atlanta. 5 hours later. Shutters halfway down. Papers taped to the glass. Notice of default. Property seized by court order. Inside, 2 employees cried as movers boxed shoes into bins. The pink neon sign reading Juliet flickered, then died. I stood across the street in a black hoodie. Some legacies rot from the inside. Others need help falling. She's gonna burn your face off for this, Miles muttered beside me. She already tried. Storage unit. Nightfall. Rain pounded the roof like gunfire. I lit the fluorescent lamp and pulled out the Halperin trust binder. Miles chewed sunflower seeds like he was waiting for a verdict. Clause 12, I said. He flipped to it. In the event of proven fraud or malfeasance, all inheritance reverts to the eldest honest heir. Honest being you? Apparently. He looked up. But Juliet's older. Not biologically, I said. What? I slid a sealed envelope across the table. No return address. Postmarked from Athens. The handwriting looked familiar, tight, slanted. Inside, my birth certificate. Adopted. 1990. Birth name redacted. No father listed. You're not Lionel's daughter. Not by blood. So legally? If Lionel used my name to route funds, claiming I was a Halperin heir, that's federal misrepresentation. False beneficiary usage. IRS goes nuclear for less. Miles let out a slow breath. You just weaponized your own identity crisis. I stared at the binder. Blood doesn't make you family. Paperwork does. Cut scene. The Halperin estate. Living room. Juliet slammed the whiskey glass down. You think this makes you noble? She snapped. Destroying us in public. You destroyed yourselves in private, I said. Lionel paced by the fireplace, red in the face, hands behind his back like a politician cornered mid-speech. Elaine sat frozen, watching me like I was a ghost she forgot to bury. You forged federal documents, I said. You used a dead woman's name. You stole 7 figures. You would have wasted it, Lionel barked. You had no vision, no spine, no future. My hands didn't shake, And yet here we are, with mine in front of me and yours in flames. Juliet walked toward me. I'll testify, she whispered. If you stop this, if you drop the civil charges. Testify against who? She blinked, swallowed. Lionel turned. You do that, and you're no daughter of mine. Juliet flinched. I stepped back. Too late for that. Flash cut. Office of the Special Investigator. Downtown. Miles handed over a hard copy of the ledgers. I submitted the notarized statement, audio files, birth certificate, and 3 forged contracts. No one said congratulations. No one had to. Truth isn't a trophy. It's a knife. You hold it by the blade or the handle. Later, rooftop of the courthouse. Empty. Cold wind. Miles joined me with 2 coffees. You know they'll try to spin it, he said. Lionel's lawyers are already shopping headlines. Let them. You're not scared. Fear's just guilt with better posture. He laughed under his breath. You burn them down without blinking. What now? I looked out at the city lights, blinking like 1,000 unasked questions. I'm not done. If I was never your daughter, then you'll never see what your daughter's capable of. The courtroom lights flickered. It wasn't dramatic, just a bad ballast. But in that moment, everything felt cinematic. Too clean, too quiet, like the world was waiting to see if justice would actually show up. Odessa Halprin versus Lionel Halprin and Associates, the clerk read. Juliet wasn't there. She'd signed a separate plea deal and vanished to Arizona with a non-disclosure agreement thick enough to gag a senator. Elaine sat stiffly at the defense table. Her pearls were back. Grief didn't stick to her the way it did to other people. Or maybe denial just aged better. Lionel hadn't been allowed bail. Not after the forensic audit uncovered the offshore accounts, the shell corporations, and the trust reroutes through Luxembourg. The courtroom was just the final act of a play that had already closed. I stood, hands flat on the table. Calm. Focused. A storm wrapped in silk. The prosecution moved through the evidence. Quiet. Precise. Then my turn. I took the stand. I never wanted revenge, I said, looking at no one. What I wanted was acknowledgement. A name, a chance, a voice. They watched me. The jury. The judge. Elaine. Even the reporters in the gallery stopped typing. They could have given me that for free. Instead, they spent a fortune trying to erase me. Pause. Let the weight sit. You can't delete what you never understood. Cut to Lionel's sentencing. 3 weeks later. 14 years. No parole. He didn't look at me once. That was his final victory, to pretend I didn't matter. I smiled anyway. Sometimes, power isn't in who you defeat. It's in who you stop letting define you. Midnight. I stood outside the old family estate. The gate rusted. Grass overgrown. Juliet's boutique gone. Elaine had moved to Savannah. The foundation dismantled. Legacy scattered like ash in the wind. I looked up at the sky. No stars. Too many city lights. But the air felt lighter, like space had finally opened up where their judgment used to press down on my lungs. Miles pulled up, window down. You really just gonna stand there and watch it rot? I needed to see it die. He raised an eyebrow. What now? I opened the passenger door, tossed a file into his lap. He flipped it open. A charter document. Clean. New. Halprin Reclaim Fund. For who, he asked. For girls like me. Ones who got overlooked. Ones who learned that survival doesn't mean silence. He whistled low. You really think justice is enough? I looked at him. No. But rebuilding something better, that's where justice becomes truth. Cut. A public school gym. 2 months later. I stood at a podium. Microphone shaky. Heart steadier. Behind me, 50 chairs. 50 girls. All of them different. All of them too familiar. This fund isn't charity, I said. It's repair. It's reparation. It's a reminder that the world may never hand you fairness. but that doesn't mean you can't build your own structure and make them sit in it. One girl stood, then another, then all of them. No applause, just eyes, hope, pain, fire. That's when I knew the story wasn't over. I wasn't the black sheep anymore. I was the architect. Later, at home, I sat alone on the floor. No wine, no noise, just stillness. A letter slid from under the door. No stamp. Handwritten. I picked it up. You were never invisible, Odessa. We just didn't know how to look at you. G. Juliet. I smiled. Not forgiveness. Just peace. Pain turns to power the second you stop asking it to explain itself. I walked to the mirror. No more shadows. Just a woman who burned down her past and planted seeds in the ashes. And when people ask who I am now, I only say one thing. The one they underestimated.